The emperor married his true love, while I, all alone in the cold palace, breathed my last. No one could detect my breath, but they didn't know. I was the last master of the breath-holding technique. The emperor wept bitterly before my tomb, but I had already fled beyond the frontier, feasting and drinking in a tavern, and casually feeling up the abs of a handsome lad from the western regions. Life should have gone on like this happily, until an earthquake collapsed the imperial mausoleum. The emperor discovered my coffin was filled with rotten potatoes. Well, the son of heaven was enraged. He vowed to dig 3 feet into the earth to find me. When news arrived that Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei were about to be married, I was in the cold palace, eating a bowl of stale, cold rice. My maid, Qinghe, felt sorry for me. She said to the eunuch delivering the meal, "Her Highness is only under house arrest. Her provisions should still befit a noble consort." The eunuch sneered. "You know she's a noble consort. Good. Above the noble consort is the empress. This servant merely follows the empress's orders." Qinghe's eyes reddened with anger. She knew Lin Wei was deliberately tormenting me. But no one in the entire palace dared say a word. Everyone knew Lin Wei, that beautiful woman who had just entered the palace, was Chu Zhaoyuan's true love for over a decade. Everyone said she was kind-hearted and beautiful, like a goddess descended to earth, pure and untainted. Even this meal-delivering eunuch was biased in her favor. "Your Highness, you tried to poison the Empress. The Empress spared your life. That's already great mercy," Qinghe said urgently. "Her Highness was framed." I stopped her, signaling it was pointless to argue. "Even Chu Zhaoyuan doesn't believe me. What's the use talking to this eunuch?" The eunuch curled his lip disdainfully and left. I heard guards chatting outside, saying, "How much Chu Zhaoyuan dotes on Lin Wei, how grand the wedding ceremony will be. Quiet down. Don't let the one inside hear." So what if she hears? She thought just because she served the emperor for a few years, she could poison the empress. The emperor won't allow her to leave the cold palace alive. Amidst the noisy chatter, I sat cross-legged on the bed, closed my eyes, and began my breathing exercises. Qinghe brought in water for me to wash up. Seeing me like this, she grew worried. She leaned in close and whispered, "Your Highness, are you practicing your skills?" Eyes still closed, I nodded slowly. Qinghe became even more uneasy. She bit her lip. "Your Highness, are you thinking of escaping? I know you have skills, but the palace is guarded by sentries inside, and patrolled by the Imperial Guard outside. Even a peerless master couldn't possibly escape." I opened my eyes. My breath sank into my dantian. Qinghe didn't know I was practicing the breath-holding technique. "My name is Yunshu. I am the world's last master of the breath-holding technique. When I was 4 years old, I was still an orphan. I fought a stray dog on the street for half a sweet potato. After winning, I met my master. My master was a chubby little old man. He said I had exceptional bone structure and asked if I'd be his disciple. I asked him, "If I become your disciple, will I get roasted sweet potatoes?" My master said yes. And so, I joined my master's sect. Our sect had a total of 3 living things. My master, me, and an old turtle. Supposedly, this old turtle was already 10,000 years old, and our training method was to stare at the 10,000-year-old turtle's slow breathing. Imagine yourself as this turtle, not breathing for 100 years, not eating or drinking for 1,000 years, not moving from its spot for 10,000 years. That's the turtle breathing technique. And when the turtle breathing technique is mastered to its peak, it becomes the breath-holding technique. Because the breathing becomes so slow, it's practically non-existent. When holding our breath, it's like we enter hibernation. No eating, no drinking, no breathing. Our metabolism slows down to an unbelievable degree. The year I turned 15, I graduated. My skills were perfected, even surpassing my master. But I soon realized graduating didn't seem to be of much use. When others master their skills, they can split the heavens with a single sword. When we master our skills, we can act very much like a turtle. That old geezer was a real piece of work. I think he tricked me. 11 years, and I wasted all those years. But my master didn't give me a chance to confront him. Through letter writing, he fell in love with a distant old widow pen pal. He traveled 1,000 miles to meet her for a twilight romance. As for me, he thought my skills were perfected, and I could already support myself. Just like that, 15-year-old me was back on the streets. Luckily, my master had good connections. In the martial world, uncles and aunts from other sects took turns feeding me. Today, I'd learn swordplay at the Ime sect for a couple of days. Tomorrow, I'd swing a broadsword at the Blade Tyrant sect for 3 days. Just drifting along like that, drifting and drifting, I eventually met Chu Zhaoyuan. Chu Zhaoyuan wasn't the emperor back then. He was the unfavored 6th prince. He was traveling incognito in a tavern when he encountered assassins sent by the crown prince. Just as the assassins were about to harm Chu Zhaoyuan, I used a hanging palm strike I learned at Ime. Got lucky. I repelled the assassin, who was then subdued by the arriving guards. Chu Zhaoyuan cupped his hands toward me. Many thanks for saving my life, warrior maiden. From the overturned dishes, I fished out a chicken leg to eat. Just thanking me with words? Shouldn't you give some silver? Chu Zhaoyuan laughed. He reached out his hand to me. Would you like to enter the prince's manor and follow me? I asked. Will there be chicken legs to eat if I follow you? Chu Zhaoyuan said yes. Just like that, I followed Chu Zhaoyuan into the prince's manor. You all have probably noticed by now, I'm a person with no ambition, always jumping into the fire for a bit of food. From the very first day I entered the manor, I heard the servants gossiping. This look of hers. She looks so much like the Lin family's eldest daughter, Lin Wei. Ah, Miss Lin has been married far away to the Prince of Bayonne for 3 years now. Yet His Highness still can't let her go. Isn't that right? On the innermost shelf in the study, there's still a portrait of Miss Lin hanging. They soon realized I had heard them. They didn't dare say another word, and quickly scattered. I shrugged my shoulders. What's the big deal? It's just the stand-in trope. Back when I was poor, I followed a storyteller and wandered the martial world. I've read many storybooks. I'm familiar with this trope, and I don't care. In Chu Zhaoyuan's study, I saw that portrait of Lin Wei. The girl in the painting wore a green silk dress. Exquisitely beautiful. She was indeed extremely beautiful. So what if I look like her? All beauties under heaven share a certain resemblance. After that, Chu Zhaoyuan sent me a green silk dress to wear. I put it on immediately. He wanted me to learn music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. I learned them right away, but I was just going through the motions. Until that day, in the warm chamber, Chu Zhaoyuan had drunk a lot of wine. He kissed me. I looked at his black robe, his dark hair cascading down. His brows were sharp, his eyes handsome. As he drew near, I caught a faint scent of plum blossoms. He held me. I could feel the heat of his body, his firm chest and narrow waist. I trembled. I said to myself, Yunshu, what did you do to deserve such a feast? Chu Zhaoyuan didn't know my trembling was from excitement. He thought I was afraid. He carried me to the warm bed. He whispered in my ear, don't be afraid. I'll be gentle with you. Then he gazed at my face for a long moment before reaching out to extinguish the bedside candle. It's normal for princes, even unmarried ones, to have a chambermaid. But Chu Zhaoyuan, it was actually his first time. No one could imagine. The usually cold and reserved sixth prince, after tearing off that moon-white gown, could be so different. He kept me up until dawn. After that, whenever Chu Zhaoyuan came to my room, staying up until dawn became the norm. Chu Zhaoyuan was truly good to me. When the palace bestowed precious lychees, each prince only received 1 plate. I wolfed them all down, only realizing I hadn't left a single one for Chu Zhaoyuan. But Chu Zhaoyuan just smiled and patted my head. I'll remember this. Ashu has a sweet tooth. From then on, whenever there were delicious sweets or fruits, Zhaoyuan would think of me first. As for other daily necessities, I never lacked for anything. He said, Ashu, there are no other women in the prince's manor. All the silver is for you to spend. So I didn't hold back. I started spending lavishly to help my poor martial brothers. You see, martial artists may seem impressive, but they're actually dirt poor. And Chu Zhaoyuan, even though he was the least favored among all the princes, was still immensely wealthy. After Chu Zhaoyuan gave his word, all my poor brothers in the martial world came to me for loans. I was generous to all. Hero Zhao's mother fell seriously ill. No problem. I hired a famous doctor for her, and 8 maids to care for the old lady. The female disciples of Jade Pure Palace couldn't afford winter clothes? No problem. I immediately threw out a stack of silver notes to the tailor shop and even had a set of jewelry made for each of the sisters. The Flying Eagle Manor's building collapsed? No problem. I'll pay for it. We'll build 10 or 8 more. Chu Zhaoyuan never questioned my huge expenses. He told the steward, as long as Ashu smiles, the amount of silver spent doesn't matter. My master taught me that if you take someone's money, you must deliver properly. I spent so much of Chu Zhaoyuan's money, I naturally had to contribute some value. So when I learned the crown prince and the treacherous minister were plotting against Chu Zhaoyuan again, I hid in the minister's lotus vat for a full day and night, and finally managed to thwart their scheme. Later, on the day of the palace coup, the crown prince led troops to surround the prince's manor. In that perilous moment, I protected Chu Zhaoyuan as we broke through the siege. I was severely wounded on my back, but I kept Chu Zhaoyuan completely unharmed. Working tirelessly, I finally helped push Chu Zhaoyuan onto the throne. I thought at least I could live a peaceful and comfortable life for a while. But then Lin Wei returned. Actually, Chu Zhaoyuan liked Lin Wei. Back in the capital city, it was no secret. It's just that, back then, Chu Zhaoyuan was just an unfavored prince born of a concubine, so no one cared about him. But now it's different. Chu Zhaoyuan is the emperor now. The prince of northern peace who married Lin Wei lived in constant fear day and night, afraid that the emperor would be angered by the grudge of taking his wife. So he quickly wrote a divorce agreement and sent Lin Wei back. On her first day in the palace, Lin Wei came to see me. She was even more beautiful than in the portraits. wearing a light green soft smoke gauze dress, elegant and ethereal. At that time, I had already been conferred as a noble consort. The position of empress was vacant. After Lin Wei returned to the palace, although she didn't have an official title yet, everyone knew that Chu Zhaoyuan had loved her for over a decade. Now he finally had her. So, she was undoubtedly the best candidate for the empress position. Lin Wei obviously knew this too. So, at our first meeting, she didn't show me any respect. She just smiled and said, "You really do look like me." The palace attendants around Zhao Yuan say that every time he's with you, he extinguishes the candle by the bed. Do you know why? Because in dim light, you look even more like me. Oh, right. You're also wearing a green dress. Lin Wei glanced at me, smiled carelessly, and said, "What a pity. Trying to copy but failing miserably. You don't wear it as well as I do." I nodded, understanding. Miss Lin likes green. Coincidentally, I have a gift for you. What gift? I clapped my hands. Qinghe came out in response and presented a green hat. That day, Lin Wei's beautiful little face turned purple with rage. She went back and complained to Chu Zhaoyuan. That night, Chu Zhaoyuan came to see me. It was the first time I saw his face look so awful. Chu Zhaoyuan said, "You bullied Lin Wei." I said, "No, I didn't. I kindly gave her a gift and even picked her favorite color." Chu Zhaoyuan was furious. After that, he never came to my palace again. In the past, whenever Chu Zhaoyuan got some treasure, he would send it to me first. But now, whether it was lychee's tribute from Jiangnan or parrots presented from the western regions, all kinds of rare treasures were continuously sent to Lin Wei. Even once, when Qinghe went to the imperial kitchen to get my bird's nest soup with rock sugar, the chef awkwardly told her, "Sorry, recently bird's nest is in short supply in the palace. The emperor said Miss Lin Wei is weak, so we should prioritize giving it to her." Lin Wei even took my favorite dessert and snatched it away, but she still seemed unsatisfied. Once, when we met in the imperial garden, she pointed at the jade pendant on my waist. "Noble consort, your temperament doesn't match this pendant. Why not give it to me?" I disagreed. That pendant is very expensive. It's made of jadeite as the base, with gold-carved bamboo branches as decoration on the outside. But I didn't give it to Lin Wei, not because it's expensive, but because it was given to me by Chu Zhaoyuan. The first gift. Later, during the palace coup, I carried it with me, accompanying Chu Zhaoyuan through life and death. The more I refused to give it, the more Lin Wei wanted it. During the argument, Chu Zhaoyuan arrived. Lin Wei immediately knelt down. "Consort, this humble servant has overstepped. It's just that this humble servant had never seen such a beautiful jade pendant before, so I couldn't help but stare at it." Her almond-shaped eyes were moist, a single tear hanging on her cheek, a sight that would move anyone to pity. Chu Zhaoyuan frowned, then quickly stepped forward and helped Lin Wei up. "What's going on here?" Lin Wei was crying. "Your Majesty, I truly just saw this jade pendant and liked it immensely, so I couldn't help but keep staring at it." But then Consort said, "I coveted it, as if I wanted to force her to give it to me." Lin Wei looked at me. "Consort, I truly had no such intention." I sighed. If Lin Wei went into acting, she'd already be a master of the stage. Chu Zhaoyuan's expression darkened. He glanced at the jade pendant. He said to me, "Consort, it's just a jade pendant. Give it to Lin Wei. He doesn't remember. This was the gift he gave me when we first met." Lin Wei stood behind Chu Zhaoyuan, curling her lips at me into a smug smile. I pretended not to see her. I said flatly, "Why should I?" Chu Zhaoyuan still wanted to reason with me. "Consort, you've been with me for so many years. You have every good thing in the world. Lin Wei is different. She's suffered greatly in the northern lands all these years. She's not one who craves jewels and jade, and she's not interested in most other things either. Now that she's finally found something she likes so much, can't you just let her have it? Besides, you have thousands of jade pendants just like this in your palace." I listened quietly until Chu Zhaoyuan finished speaking. I smiled and said, "I see." Then I picked up the jade pendant and threw it into the nearby pond. "If she likes something, your Majesty can give it to her, but my things can only be disposed of by me." They say I frightened Lin Wei that night. After returning, she fell ill from worry and never recovered. Despite endless streams of medicinal decoctions, her condition never improved. It wasn't until later that they discovered a slow-acting poison in the medicine. The palace maid, who was exposed, trembled as she kowtowed, revealing the mastermind behind it. It was Consort Yun who ordered us to do it. By then, Lin Wei was already pregnant, and the child was lost because of this. Staggering, she rushed into my palace, clutching an empty swaddling cloth and crying, "Consort, you may envy me for having won His Majesty's heart." But the child was innocent. Before I could even speak, she collapsed to the ground. Chu Zhaoyuan arrived shortly after. He helped Lin Wei up. She leaned into his arms, her face pale as she wept, like a beautiful yet fragile piece of porcelain, as if she might shatter the next moment. Chu Zhaoyuan looked at me. He said softly, "Yunshu, you have no right to envy Lin Wei. You should know very well that all my kindness to you over the years has been because of her." After saying this, Chu Zhaoyuan turned and left, carrying Lin Wei in his arms. That night after he left, for dinner, I ate 3 plates of cherry pork, 2 roasted lamb chops, 5 fried swabs, and 7 bowls of steamed milk pudding. Qinghe kept patting my back. Consort, slow down. No. If I eat slowly, my tears will fall. I said to Qinghe, you should eat too. Otherwise, you might not get the chance later. I was right. The imperial decree arrived the next day. I was found guilty of poisoning Lin Wei. The verdict was final. Stripped of my consort's robes, and banished to the cold palace. In the cold palace, I had plenty of time to reflect on the past. I remembered what my master once said. He said that people, when they're outside the game, are clear-headed, but once they're in it, they become foolish. I followed Chu Zhaoyuan for 7 years. I thought I was clear-headed, but in the end, I got caught in the game. Love is the most powerful trap of all. My master was trapped by it. He abandoned his family and career, and ran off with a beautiful widow. I was trapped too. Without even realizing it, I fell for a heartless emperor. But my master also taught me that when a person makes a mistake, it's never too late to change. For the first time, I realized how wise my master truly was. He taught me the most profound truth in the world, and also passed on to me the most useful skill in the world. That night, I meditated quietly, feeling my breath grow slower and slower. My body felt as if sinking into water. In the distance were the sounds of Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei's wedding. Firecrackers went off by the hundreds, the thousands. The festive air almost seemed to seep into this cold palace. Qinghe sat beside me. The charcoal fire in the cold palace wasn't enough. She worriedly rubbed my frost-reddened hands. I wiped away her tears. Don't cry, Qinghe. We'll be free soon. Oh, right. Do you know what burial goods a consort gets? What kind of things are buried with her? Although I was stripped of my robes that day, my title remains. Qinghe immediately frowned. Your Highness, what nonsense are you talking? Quick, take it back. Oh, I'm just asking. Just curious, that's all. Qinghe counted on her fingers. There are so many. Take the late Emperor's consort Liu, for example. Gold earrings with Eastern pearls, a coral prayer bead bracelet of 18, a gilded filigree phoenix crown, lapis lazuli, turquoise necklaces. I did the math in my head. Not bad. Not only would we be set for life, we could squander it for 8 lifetimes and still not run out. That damned emperor. He'd rather bury that wealth in a grave than let us common folk have it. Heartless. While Qinghe went to the courtyard to fetch clothes, I did a few more things. By the time she returned, everything was ready. As she helped me prepare for bed, I said casually, oh, right. I left a letter under the pillow. If the emperor comes to see me, please give it to him for me. Don't forget. Qinghe hesitated. She knew, of course, that Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei had just married. It would likely be a long time before he'd visit me again, but afraid of upsetting me, she comforted me. This servant remembers. Don't worry, Your Highness. I closed my eyes. Darkness enveloped me. My breathing grew slower. The flow of my blood slowed as well. I felt my body growing cold, bit by bit. First, my hands and feet, then up my limbs. Finally, my heart. Its beat grew slower and slower, until it finally stopped. Good. This can repay all those extra beats my heart made over the years whenever I saw Chu Zhaoyuan. Chu Zhaoyuan must be with Lin Wei on their wedding night. This time he finally won't have to deliberately blow out the candles. Early morning of the second day, everyone witnessed the affection between the newlywed emperor and empress. Chu Zhaoyuan accompanied Lin Wei, sitting in the Fengyi Palace. This was Lin Wei's first day as empress. According to protocol, all palace consorts should come to pay their respects to her. But Chu Zhaoyuan had no other consorts. The only consort was the noble consort who had already been confined to the cold palace. Yunshu. Lin Wei held onto Chu Zhaoyuan's arm, gently said, Consort Yun is still a consort. Why not let her come to pay respects as well? Chu Zhaoyuan's eyes darkened. He coldly said, she tried to poison you. You were confined to the cold palace. What's the point in seeing her? Lin Wei said softly. Yunshu was just confused for a moment. Besides, Lin Wei has finally married you. She wants to receive blessings from everyone. Chu Zhaoyuan turned his head, looked at Lin Wei's beautiful face. After a long while, he sighed slightly. As long as you're happy. He turned to the eunuch and said, bring consort Yun here. Lin Wei sat on the chair. A faint smile played on her lips. When Yunshu actually arrives to witness me and Chu Zhaoyuan being deeply affectionate, only then will I have truly won. But the eunuch was gone for a long time. Nearly half an hour passed. The eunuch returned with a pale face. He knelt on the ground, trembling. After a long while, he finally uttered a few words with a trembling voice. Consort Yun has passed away. A shattering sound echoed in the hall. It was the teacup in Chu Zhaoyuan's hand crashing to the ground. The hall was silent for a long time. After a moment, Chu Zhaoyuan laughed. He pointed at the reporting eunuch. I understand. Yunshu told you to report this, didn't she? After all these years in the palace, you still don't know the rules. How dare you make such a joke? Isn't it just to make me go see her? Playing such childish games. I've been too lenient with her before. The eunuch raised his head. He didn't dare speak anymore. Only his face was pale. His face covered with terrified tear stains. Chu Zhaoyuan looked at the eunuch's expression. He gradually stopped laughing, slowly stood up. He whispered, "Is what you said true?" The eunuch prostrated and kowtowed. "Absolutely true. When Consort Yun was found this morning, her body was already cold. Your Majesty." Lin Wei let out a gasp, because she saw Chu Zhaoyuan's figure, suddenly swayed, almost falling to the ground. I finally waited for Chu Zhaoyuan. The eunuch's drawn-out voice sounded. "The emperor has arrived." However, no one entered for a long time. Chu Zhaoyuan stood at the door the whole time. Qinghe, with eyes swollen like walnuts, said coldly, "Your Majesty, come in if you want. What are you afraid to see? Her ladyship loved you so much when she was alive. Even if she becomes a ghost, she won't harm you." These words were like a heavy blow, struck the back of Chu Zhaoyuan's head. His figure swayed again. The color drained from his face. Lin Wei quickly supported him. "Your Majesty." Chu Zhaoyuan shook off Lin Wei's hand. He walked in, came to my side. "Aishu," he whispered. In the past, whenever he called me like this, I would happily respond. But this time, I couldn't respond to Chu Zhaoyuan. "Ashu." Chu Zhaoyuan kept calling my name. "You can't be. You were so healthy, so full of life." The imperial physician examined me. He whispered to Chu Zhaoyuan, "Your Majesty, Consort Yun likely passed from old injuries flaring up. She had 3 old wounds on her back, and her left shoulder suffered a heavy blow. That strike was very close to her heart." Chu Zhaoyuan froze. He knew how she got those wounds. The wounds on her back were from protecting him during the succession struggle. Her left shoulder was injured by a traitor's subordinate. When she thwarted his conspiracy, Chu Zhaoyuan asked me if it hurt. I shook my head while gnawing on a chicken leg. "It doesn't hurt, not at all. Look, I eat just fine now. I'm perfectly healthy." But how could it not have hurt? I just wasn't used to saying it, plagued by old injuries and pent-up sorrow turning to illness. This humble servant dares to speculate. Consort Yun died from heart failure. Chu Zhaoyuan looked down at me. He reached out his hand, as if wanting to touch my face. "It's me. I'm the one who killed her." But Chu Zhaoyuan couldn't say anything. Qinghe stood up and shielded me. "The deceased is inauspicious. For the safety of the imperial body, Your Majesty should not make contact." She shielded my body, not letting Chu Zhaoyuan touch me. Chu Zhaoyuan's face paled again. He knew Qinghe hated him. Even Qinghe hated him this much. Let alone. He said hoarsely, "Ashu, did you resent me before you left?" Qinghe was silent. Her ladyship never mentioned it. She took out a letter, her expression cold. "Her ladyship left this for Your Majesty. Read it yourself." Chu Zhaoyuan dismissed everyone. He sat alone in the cold palace, beside my body. He unfolded the letter. "Here as Tianxin snow, bright as the moon among clouds. I hear you are of 2 minds, so I come to bid farewell." It's from Song of the White Hare. The poem is long, but on the first page of the letter, only these 4 lines were written, and that was it. Chu Zhaoyuan turned to the second page. "Sorry, I really forgot how the rest goes. I'll just speak my mind. Chu Zhaoyuan, I like you, and I know you don't like me. But it's okay. Thank you for being good to me all these years. I know I won't survive, so I'm leaving this letter to say a few more words to you. There's a big black rock east of the lake. I always sleep on it. Second, I always feel at peace lying on it. So I hope you'll bury it with me, so I can keep sleeping on it. In the palace, besides you, I don't really know anyone else. Only Qinghe has been with me all along. The only one I'm worried about now is her. I hope you'll give her plenty of silver and send her out of the palace. After all, you should know, this damn palace is really no place for people. Actually, I'm worried about you too. From now on, I won't be there to get you out of trouble. I can't protect you anymore. Second, you have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. Be a good emperor. Don't make so many enemies. We won't see each other again. Yunshu." Chu Zhaoyuan finished reading my letter. The room was very quiet. Only his breathing could be heard. Suddenly, hot tears fell drop by drop onto my face. I suddenly realized Chu Zhaoyuan was crying. It was the first time I'd seen him cry. Why is he crying? He's the one who said he loves Lin Wei and was only good to me because I resemble Lin Wei. Would he be this sad over someone he doesn't love? I don't understand. My master never taught me this. I don't know how much time had passed. A young eunuch came in to announce, "Your Majesty." Her Highness the Empress suddenly had heart palpitations and fainted. Chu Zhaoyuan stood up. The tear stains on his face had already dried. He looked as cold and indifferent as usual. "Understood. I will go there now. See, even if I died," and made Chu Zhaoyuan a little sad. He would still go to accompany Lin Wei. Fortunately, I don't care anymore. My body was placed in the royal ancestral temple, awaiting burial. Qinghe kept vigil for me. She cried herself unconscious several times. It broke my heart. Several times I wanted to sit up from the coffin to comfort her, but I couldn't. Qinghe is hot-tempered and can't keep things to herself. For the sake of our long-term plan, I had to let her suffer for now. Chu Zhaoyuan never came to see me, but he honored my final wish. He had the black giant stone from the east of the lake moved, so I could be laid upon it for burial. On the day the coffin was sealed and buried, Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei came together. Chu Zhaoyuan remained calm the whole time, until a palace maid, timidly, presented something to Lin Wei. Your Highness, this was fished out of the lotus pond. It seems to be something you wanted before. It was a jade pendant, with a jadeite base, adorned with bamboo joints carved from gold. I wore it for many years, then threw it into the lotus pond. Lin Wei scolded in a low voice. What a cursed thing. No. She wanted to casually throw the pendant away, but Chu Zhaoyuan suddenly said, bring it here. Somehow, the golden outer decoration on the jadeite, the moment it was placed in Chu Zhaoyuan's hand, suddenly fell off, and the pendant broke into several pieces. Judging from the edges, it had been broken for a long time. Chu Zhaoyuan was stunned. The jade is broken. You should know. Jade can ward off misfortune for its owner, but broken jade is inauspicious. It can even attract disaster. My palace is filled with rare treasures. Why would I carry a broken piece of jade? Qinghe said, her eyes red. Her ladyship told me this jade pendant was a gift from you when you first met. Chu Zhaoyuan froze. She wore this pendant to protect your majesty during the succession struggle. When the crown prince's men fired a hidden arrow, this pendant blocked it. That's why it shattered. Her ladyship found a craftsman to forge a gold casing, to piece it back together. She said by wearing it, all misfortune would find her, leaving all blessings for your majesty. She loved your majesty. That's why she willingly took on your misfortune. The coffin lid was suddenly thrown open. Voices clamored. Eunuchs and maids tried to stop him. Lin Wei cried and screamed. Chu Zhaoyuan was calling my name. Shu, I'm here. I've come to be with you. He seemed to have gone mad. His eyes were bloodshot. He struggled to climb into the coffin. Lin Wei shouted, get the emperor away from here. Now. Chaos erupted. In the end, Chu Zhaoyuan was forcibly dragged away by the palace servants. The coffin was sealed and buried underground. After a long while, I gradually regained my breath. I opened my eyes. Before me, inside the coffin, were piles of gold, silver, and jewels, nearly blinding me. I knew there would be many burial goods, but not this many. I was so overjoyed I almost couldn't catch my breath. Now I could finally breathe again. However, the air in the coffin is limited. It's been sealed under thick layers of earth. Even a peerless master would struggle to break out. But it's fine. I brought help. Old pal. I tapped on the black boulder. A moment later, the black boulder extended a head and 4 legs, plus a tail. That's right. It was the founder of our breath-holding sect. My master's 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 master. The 10,000-year-old turtle. It slowly pushed open the coffin lid, and then kept pushing through the soil above. Fresh air rushed in. I stretched my arms joyfully towards the sky. I'm finally free. 3 years later, everyone knew that in a border town tavern, a beautiful, wealthy lady had appeared. Handsome young men. All wanted to win her fa. Obviously, that wealthy lady was me. At this moment, 8 handsome young gentlemen stood before me, lined up in a row, showcasing their talents, trying to win my heart. The first one recited poetry on the spot, eloquently expressing his affection for me. The second one casually splashed ink, painting my beauty with his brush. The third played the guqin, entrusting his feelings to the flowing melody. Each one's talent was truly exceptional, but I was bored to tears. I clapped perfunctorily, until the 8th one stepped forward. Propping up my drooping eyelids, I asked sleepily, what's your talent? Show me, the young man said, as you wish, then removed his outer robe to reveal his chiseled abs. I jolted upright, springing to my feet in one swift motion. I clapped wildly. Good. Excellent. The other young gentlemen were furious. They never imagined a wealthy lady, despite her fortune, would have such vulgar tastes. I said to the 8th young man, you'll be the one to drink with me today. He walked over and sat close beside me. He was an extremely handsome youth from the western regions, with a prominent nose and deep-set eyes. His skin was as white as snow, tall and powerfully built, so outstanding that one couldn't take their eyes off him. But I, after all, am someone who has seen the world, so I appeared utterly calm. Calmly, I touched his Adam's apple, then his pectoral muscles, and finally his abdominal muscles. Then I calmly praised him. Truly a masterpiece. I bestowed upon the Western Region youth a large handful of gold beads. The Western Region youth said, I've long heard of your beauty. To serve you in drinking is my humble honor. I won't accept payment. I spoke with domineering authority. Take it when it's given to you. The Western Region youth was overjoyed. Clearly, he admired me even more as this domineering, beautiful, wealthy woman. He poured wine for me. Judging by your accent, you're not a local. May I ask where you come from? I replied calmly. Me? Just a person. Actually, at first, I didn't introduce myself like that. I would fabricate some background. But soon I realized that introducing myself this way was the coolest. That melancholy and world weariness would enhance my mysterious allure. Sure enough, After hearing this, the Western region youth's glassy eyes widened. You must be someone with many stories. In the main hall of the tavern, a storyteller slapped his wooden block. He was telling the story of the current emperor and empress. That is, Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei. In the story, Chu Zhaoyuan and Lin Wei grew up together. But Chu Zhaoyuan, in his youth, was low in status. He couldn't protect the one he loved. He watched helplessly as Lin Wei was married off to the north. Later, Chu Zhaoyuan survived countless dangers, successfully seized the throne, and finally brought Lin Wei back, making her his empress. Over these years, in the palace, there has been only the empress. Chu Zhaoyuan has never taken any other consorts. The Western region youth asked me, "Miss, what's wrong?" I snapped back to reality. "It's nothing. This is already the best ending for this story." But before I could finish my thought, a fast horse appeared below the tavern. The rider reined in the horse and rushed up the stairs. He pushed that Western region's youth out of the room, then grabbed me by the collar and cried out in panic, "It's bad. There's an earthquake." The person was none other than Qinghe. After she was released from the palace, I stopped her in a deserted alley. I wanted to tell her I wasn't Times, but she screamed, "Ghost," and took off running for Tu Lai. If my Qinggong wasn't decent, I might not have caught up with her. After realizing I truly wasn't dead, Qinghe cried and shouted Times Ghost, and hugged me tightly. She almost squeezed me too. No, I was baffled. Wasn't the earthquake a month ago? Why are you running here now? A month ago, I woke up startled from sleep and felt a slight tremor, but nothing major happened. So I went back to sleep soon after. Qinghe's face turned pale. The epicenter was in the capital's outskirts. I suddenly realized something. I was shocked. The capital's outskirts. That's where the imperial tomb is. You mean? Qinghe nodded. She closed her eyes in despair. A landslide. The imperial tomb collapsed. The other tombs were fine, but only your coffin was exposed. The coffin lid flew off. Everyone saw that inside the coffin was only a pile of rotten potatoes. That's too much. That's really too much. Back then, there were too many gold and silver treasures buried with me. I really couldn't use that many by myself. So I wrote a letter to the brothers of the tomb raiders lineage in the Jianghu, inviting them to rob the tomb. It's fine that they took the burial goods, but why did they casually throw potatoes in there? Even without the earthquake, if Chu Zhaoyuan returned and saw my grave sprouting a bunch of potato shoots, wouldn't that be just as strange? Qinghe's face turned pale. The emperor is furious. He says to the ends of the earth, digging 3 feet deep, he will find you. We got the news too late. In a month's time, they might already be close to finding us here. I covered Qinghe's mouth. Jinx, stop talking. We need to run. But it was already too late. The sound of horse hooves came from below the tavern. The government officials had arrived. Inside the tavern, the dancers, the waiters, the storyteller, scattered in panic. From among countless carriages, a black steed leaped out. On it was a familiar figure. He looked up, I looked down. Separated by 1 floor, we stared at each other from afar. Chu Zhaoyuan. He actually came here personally to find me. I finally saw Chu Zhaoyuan again. He sat across from me. In the cramped room, there were only the two of us. He wasn't wearing imperial robes, but plain black everyday clothes. Yet, he brought dozens of guards, so the onlookers in the tavern all thought he was the young master of some military family. Chu Zhaoyuan had his guards wait outside. So I also told Qinghe to leave. Qinghe was extremely worried. As she left, she looked back at me with every step. I signaled with my eyes for her to relax. When the room was finally just Chu Zhaoyuan and me, I began to study him. He had lost a lot of weight. His cheeks and eye sockets were sunken. None of his former high spirits remained. It seemed he hadn't been happy. But after all, he'd been emperor for 3 more years. The majesty of the Son of Heaven was even greater. When his face was expressionless, it was easy to feel afraid. Chu Zhaoyuan's dark, deep pupils stared at me. He said coldly, "We meet again." Yunshu. Back at the prince's estate, in public, he called me Yunshu, but in private, he called me Ashu. After Lin Wei returned to the palace, she never mentioned my name again. She only distantly and coldly called me imperial consort. Now, even though he's angry and calling out my name, it actually sounds like he wants to be close again. This room at the tavern is one I rent year-round, so Chu Zhaoyuan is a guest here. So I wanted to ease the tension. After the long journey, "You must be thirsty, sir. Someone, bring tea." The door opened. That handsome, tall young man from the western regions walked in. He started making the tea. Chu Zhaoyuan glanced at him, and his face immediately darkened. "Does this tavern not have any other maids? Why are you serving?" "For something like pouring tea." The young man from the western regions quickly bowed. "Sir, there are. It's just that the lady usually has me serve her." It was bad enough when he didn't speak. Once he did, Chu Zhaoyuan's expression turned even uglier. The young man from the western regions noticed Chu Zhaoyuan's displeasure. He realized he'd said the wrong thing, and hurriedly tried to explain. "Actually, it's not just me. There are 7 other brothers. The 8 of us take turns." How do I put this? I stole a glance at Chu Zhaoyuan. I felt like if you stuck a fuse in his head, he'd explode like a firecracker, right then and there. I sighed, and waved for the young man from the western regions to leave. Chu Zhaoyuan looked at me coldly. He said, "Why did you lie to me?" I poured the water. "Sir, have some tea to soothe your throat first. This emperor asks you again, why did you lie to this emperor?" I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed the teapot down on the table. Tea splashed everywhere. "What else?" I said coldly. "If I didn't lie to you, Chu Zhaoyuan, could I have gotten out? If I didn't leave the palace, how many years would you have kept me locked in the cold palace?" In the cold palace, the food was moldy. The bedding was thin. See this scar on my hand? It's from the frostbite I got back then. Of course I had to lie to you. Of course I had to pretend. Otherwise, I would have died in that cold palace long ago. Chu Zhaoyuan's gaze fell on my arm. The scar from the frostbite was shocking. His eyes flashed with heartache, flashed with guilt, flashed with regret. When he spoke again, his tone had softened. "Ashu, I truly wronged you, but I won't let you die." I didn't speak. A long silence filled the room. After a long while, Chu Zhaoyuan took something and gently placed it on the table. He pushed it toward me. It was that jade pendant. He had a craftsman remake the casing. The jade was smooth and lustrous, clearly worn close to him all this time. For 3 years, I've kept it with me. I regret it so much. I regret why I didn't recognize back then that this was our token of love. I always dream. I dream of you. Coming back from a mission at the Prime Minister's residence, covered in wounds, lying in bed, still smiling to comfort me, saying it didn't hurt at all. And on the road to seizing the throne, you, gravely injured, escorted me as we fought our way into the palace. We seized my father's final decree. The moment we succeeded, you said to me. Chu Zhaoyuan imitated my tone from back then. "It's so wonderful, Zhaoyuan. From now on, you're the emperor. No one will ever dare bully you again." Warm drops fell onto the jade pendant. Chu Zhaoyuan covered his face, not letting me see him cry. I was silent for a moment. Then I said softly, "Your Majesty, the jade is beautiful, but once it's broken, it's broken. Even if you force the pieces back together, it's still broken." Chu Zhaoyuan's body trembled. He looked at me, his eyes filled with endless bitterness. He finally said the words, "Ashu, I'm sorry." I shook my head. "There's nothing to be sorry for." Chu Zhaoyuan opened his mouth anxiously, wanting to explain. "Ashu, the one I love is you. What happened back then? I had no choice. You don't understand court affairs." I cut him off. "Your Majesty, I do understand." Chu Zhaoyuan froze. I smiled. "I know you want to tell me that the Lin family's disciples are everywhere in court. You had just ascended the throne and needed their power to secure your position. So, even though you knew perfectly well that I didn't poison anyone and that Lin Wei staged it all herself, you still had to appease her, play along. So, you could only punish me by sending me to the cold palace. You also want to say that by sending me to the cold palace, the Lin family would think I was no threat to Lin Wei's position as empress and wouldn't come after me. You were actually protecting me, right?" Chu Zhaoyuan's mouth hung slightly open. He couldn't utter a single word. He went through so much trouble to find me, probably just to tell me all this. He never expected I already knew. Yes, I actually understand everything. I just prefer to act like I don't. Like how I'm actually in a lot of pain, but I like to pretend I'm not. I'm not truly foolish. It's just that my master taught me that living too clearly is meaningless. In this life, being happily oblivious is the most joyful. Your Majesty, I know you love me, but that love is no longer what I want. Chu Zhaoyuan could no longer hold back. He took a step forward, grabbing my hand tightly. The Son of Heaven looked at me with an almost humble expression. "Ashu, then tell me, what is it that you want? I'll give you everything." I smiled. "Really? Of course. This is the promise of the Emperor." "Good." I stopped smiling. "Then I want you to stop being the Emperor." Chu Zhaoyuan was stunned. "I'll find you a fake death potion. From then on, you won't be Chu Zhaoyuan. You'll just be my husband, Yunshu's husband. We'll drift on a boat, roam the rivers and lakes freely, and live as an ordinary couple. If that happens, all past grievances will be wiped clean, and I'll love you again. How about it?" Chu Zhaoyuan's face turned deathly pale. Smiling, I pulled my hand back. "See? Your Majesty, you can't do it. You love me, but your love has only brought me coldness, grievance, and torment. I don't blame you, but parting ways forever is the best choice for both of us." Chu Zhaoyuan was silent for a long time. A very, very long time. He asked softly, "Ashu, one last question. Do you still like me?" I smiled. "Your Majesty, go back. Her Majesty the Empress is waiting for you. There are many women in the world who adore you. It's just that I am truly no longer one of them." Chu Zhaoyuan left. The officials who had surrounded the tavern also withdrew. Xinghe rushed in frantically. Seeing me safe and sound as soon as she entered, she stomped her foot and cried, "Oh heavens! You scared me to death. Deceiving the Emperor is a crime punishable by death for the entire clan. I thought we were both done for." I smiled and poured the wine. "No way." Xinghe grabbed my hand. "What did you say to the Emperor? How could you just send him away like that?" And when I saw the Emperor leave, his eyes were red. He seemed very depressed. I took a sip of wine. I calmly said, "Depression is normal. People who want everything are destined to live unhappily." After that, Chu Zhaoyuan never came to see me again. I continued in the tavern at the border, drowning my sorrows in drink. I also adopted a few little orphans and taught them breath-holding exercises. Qing has set up a business in the city. She became known throughout the western regions as a famous proprietress. When it came to tea, horses, and silk, there was no trade she didn't dabble in. Thus, information flowed freely. She often told me news from the capital. After Chu Zhaoyuan consolidated his power, with dozens of charges like abuse of power and corruption, he thoroughly investigated the Lin family. Since the previous emperor's time, the Lin family had been dominant. Thus, they completely collapsed. Lin Wei was confined to the cold palace. It's said that Chu Zhaoyuan tampered with her food, making her experience, letting her also taste the bitterness of being falsely accused of poisoning. When I heard this news, I was very calm. The past events in the palace seemed like things from a past life, like a storyteller's tale. It could no longer stir in my heart, even the slightest ripple. A few more years passed. The chief eunuch from the palace traveled 1,000 miles to this small city in the western regions. He said Chu Zhaoyuan was critically ill, holding on to his last breath to see me one final time. I hesitated for a long time. Finally, I told the eunuch, "I'm not going. The emperor, in his lifetime, has gotten everything he wanted. I'm the only regret left." Keeping this regret might give him something to hold on to. It could support him to pull through this illness. If I go back and see him, he might think that all his wishes in this world are fulfilled, and his will to live would dissipate. So please tell the emperor to focus on getting better. He and I have a long future ahead. The chief eunuch bowed and said, "Your wisdom is profound, madam. This old servant is in awe." He left. Xinghe happened to come see me. She caught the tail end of the conversation. In private, she gritted her teeth at me. "Why are you still saving that damn emperor? Why not just go see him and piss him off to death? Then we can rest easy." I waved my hand. One thing at a time. Chu Zhaoyuan is a good emperor. Under his rule, the common people still have good days. Besides, if the emperor dies, that's a national mourning. The whole country would be in mourning. Where would we get our wine from? Xinghe was still angry. "But you shouldn't have told him we have a long future ahead." I smiled. The so-called long future ahead is just him entering the palace gates, deep as the sea, and me living out my days in the world. The rest of my life is long, but we'll never meet again. Just then, the tavern owner knocked on the door. "Miss, there are new young performers. They're here to showcase their talents. Quick, invite them in." 16 young men lined up in front of me. "What talents do you all have?" In unison, they removed their outer robes, revealing their abs. I stood up and applauded vigorously, cheering loudly, "Excellent."